All right, so our last assignment in Digital Art 1 was to create a spot illustration. And we did that. And we started with a sketch, then we did vector line work, then we brought that line work into Photoshop and did some form of digital coloring, flat coloring, duotone coloring, maybe even some color holds and full spectrum coloring. Well, we're going to continue with that spot illustration. And the idea is to keep refining it towards, with assignment 8, a single purpose. So with the last assignment, we sketched, we then drew vector outlines, or we inked it separately, scanned it, and live traced into vector outlines. Then we brought it into Photoshop, brought the outlines as a smart layer in, and colored behind them. But you can see that I actually changed the color of the outline as well, put some highlights on top of it. Those are called color holds. This is duotone soft edge coloring mostly, but you see little hints of hard edge duotone peeking through because I did a combination of them. There's even a little bit of what's called full spectrum color, because in the gray, there's not just light and gray, there's some blue reflections in there. Just little hints to bring this character out. And then once I have the spot illustration, notice it's floating on a background that is whatever the website provides. So it really is like a sticker. I'm then able to take it into programs or websites like Redbubble, and I can make products. So this is what the sticker preview looks like if I were to purchase that from Redbubble. I could put it on a t-shirt, so this is it floating on a t-shirt background. Notice that I gave it an offset edge in Photoshop, just a slight stroke, white stroke, to help the dark lines stand out on even dark backgrounds. That's what it would look like on the full t-shirt. This is an iPad case, so one spot illustration can do all these things, as long as it's a clean, high-res file that has a transparent background, and as an online file that's a PNG, it can be easily outputted to all these things. What I love about sites like Redbubble, since they're really trying to make it easier for illustrators to make products available, they just use simple computer algorithms, things called actions, kind of macro codes within their website to allow you to tile up the image. So I can make a fabric. This is like a dress top chiffon fabric that does a half drop pattern. Actually, it's a half tile pattern because it goes at a 45-degree angle off to the left and right instead of underneath. I guess you could call it a half drop pattern this way too. I could use that same pattern to make a scarf, so on and on and on, very versatile. Now we're going to take that spot illustration, whether it's finished or not, and we're going to combine it with our own text solution and our own choice of background, whether we draw it, paint it, composite it, and make a poster. So this is kind of a quick mock-up using some things I found, and the type I'll show you. But you decide what your poster is going to be. This was designed to be a mouse pad for the campus, as a Pokemon version of our mascot, right? So now our next task is assignment 8, to take that spot illustration, to finish it up, make it as strong as possible, but also know what the job we want it to do is. And for this, we want it to be specific, some sort of poster, some sort of finished design. And instead of submitting a sketch, instead you're going to submit the type design that you do in black and white, and we're going to do that as a vector, and I'll be showing you that today. Then you're going to color the type design. I would recommend coloring it in Photoshop, but you can also use vector tools to color it if you wish. And then you're going to put it with your spot illustration on a background of your choosing to make a poster. This was for a calendar kind of theme we did. We're doing a monster theme this semester. There it goes with the spot illustration, with the background. On and on and on. We used to do a lot of Fiesta ones to support the campus Fiesta poster competitions, which have been discontinued. But you can see how the text really helps the overall spot illustration quite a bit. And then a background can be as simple as, some textured paper, whatever it is, to help bring it all together. So let's get to it. So what do I want from my poster design? Well, I want it to reference Pokemon, obviously, while still being all my own work and my own ideas. But if I look at Pokemon posters for inspiration, they feature a lot of characters, right? And I only have one in my spot illustration. But sometimes they have clouds behind them. Sometimes they have dynamic poses. But one thing they often have is this Pokemon logo type. So the first thing I had to design was my own version of that Pokemon logo type. And because our campus mascot, the Nighthawk's name is Nico, I decided to do Nicomon. And how do you do that? Well, the first thing you would do is you go to a website that's on your assignment sheet, a well-known font resource website called DaFont. And DaFont is funded by a bunch of designers and font design companies that advertise on it, because if you can't find the font you want for free through DaFont, which are all free for personal use, it's like the Pixabay of font design, then you can always buy them from the other font sources, because font designers make money by selling you rights to their fonts. So if I just search very simply for Pokemon, see if there's any kind of free font that relates to Pokemon, and all of these come up. So some of them are vector graphics, as kind of clip art. Some done well, some done badly. Anyone can submit to DaFont and put something up. But sure enough, here's one that kind of matches. So let me right-click on that and open it in a new tab. This is what I recommend. And then here's another one that kind of matches. Now this actually is free for personal use, and it comes in two variations. Just an outlined, kind of stroked version and a solid version. And so what I am going to do is download those. And I can actually test how my type will work, which I definitely recommend you do before you actually choose a font and download it. So if I want Nicomon, you can see I've already tried it out, so it's remembering. And I submit it, it will show me how it looks. Now, is that finished and perfect? No, not at all. In order to be kind of what I want, I have to play with it and tilt it and overlap it, do lots of things. But it's a great start. So I'm going to download it and use that. This other one, which I haven't used yet, I might use for this subheading. Because what often goes with the type is that phrase, gotta catch them all, right? So I'm going to say, gotta teach them all. Or maybe it's all. I'll have to look. Let's see how that looks. And I like this italic quite a bit. That gets me started. It's not going to do my whole job for me. So let's see. If I type in Pokemon, gotta catch them all, as a poster, look at images of it, I can see how those text solutions are working together. And here we even have a poster where it's just one character. Not quite a spot illustration yet, because of course, this actually would work as a spot illustration. This one doesn't, because spot illustrations shouldn't be cut off, right? They should be free floating and contained. But you'll notice this shows me how the text works and then how the tagline works. You can use as much text or as little text as you want, as long as you have some vector text on your poster. And then what kind of backgrounds they use. So notice they're very vague, kind of blurry backgrounds that just support the illustration. So these are going to be my inspiration. Let me just save these as reference. Okay, so I have used DaFont and I have downloaded these. So what does that mean? Well, I go to my downloads folder in my dock. I open it up and I unzip these folders just by double clicking on them. Macs make it very easy to install fonts. You don't need administrative privileges. I've already loaded the Pokemon fonts. And so all you do is you open them up and you say install font. And you see how they're already there. So I don't need to load them again. But I haven't loaded these. So I'm going to open both of these up. Install them both. You'll see them there. Both regular and italic. And it's called Ketchum. You want to remember that. And now they will work in different programs like Illustrator or Photoshop or Word or PowerPoint, wherever I might want to use these fonts. They'll work on this computer. All right, so let's see. What's the actual phrase? Gotta catch 'em all. And it's not capitalized. And there is an exclamation point. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, not terrible. But of course, there's more that has to be done. The spacing between them, playing with the shapes a little bit, rounding them out a little bit. But this is obviously not the same, but this is a free resource that I can modify to get what I want. Okay, so now what do? I can minimize my web search, and I can open up my finished Illustrator file. So I might have to go back to assignment 7 and look for my finished line work and open it in Illustrator. Because remember, we're coloring in Photoshop. So right now, the first thing I need to do is kind of figure out the line work. I could also go to my finished Photoshop file, open that up as well, and kind of sketch out my vision. It's largely up to you how you want to approach this. So while Illustrator's opening, I can get my tablet out and kind of sketch out what I think in Illustrator or in Photoshop. So the first thing, to make a poster, I need more space. So I'm going to go to canvas size. And even though this is quite large, actually 13 by 19 is about as big as I want it. And I want it to be 350 pixels per inch. So there's no reason in me going larger. But what I might do is take all of these layers that are locked and unlock them. I'll save this as something else. This is now my poster. So these are all my coloring layers and my vector line work, all the things floating on that background. And I'm going to shrink them. And the beauty of my smart layers that have effects on them and that don't have effects on them, and my raster layers, is they will all perfectly shrink together. And it won't rasterize my vector layers at all. So I can hold down Option and Shift and shrink it, thinking kind of the poster design. I can move it down, increase it a little bit. This is a big file, almost a gigabyte large. So, and then I can try rotating it, make it a little bit more dynamic. I like that. Maybe grow it a little bit from there. How can I get this to really engage a poster, a viewer? Nudge it. Leave room for the type. It looks like on the top. All the examples I'm seeing are on the top. And it's good to have a client in mind for your poster. So because this is a school mascot and it's kind of a fun way to do it, this might be for a teaching conference or for something about helping our adjuncts for professional development training, something like that. And then I have these backgrounds still in there. So this is 13 by 19 inches, a nice kind of default poster size. Again, I'm using these as influence, right? And now I can just sketch within Photoshop on a new layer over the top. In fact, I might move all of my illustration stuff into a folder.